Hey guys, Charai5 here, and today we're going to talk about a movie I've never seen, which is The Ring, or Ringu in Japan. I believe, I don't really know much about the history of the film, but I do believe that the American version was called The Ring, based off of a Japanese horror film called Ringu. And it's another one of those movies that is huge when it comes to pop culture, and you kind of learn about it through proxy, but you don't, even if you've never seen it before. I think it's one of those movies that just had that sort of impact, and its concept is really interesting to me, and I think it was for a lot of other people too, because the idea of watching a tape, like a random videotape, and then getting called immediately saying you're going to die in a certain amount of time, is frightening, because I feel like a lot of people have had that moment where they're watching a scary movie, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and you just jump, like you're not expecting it to do that because you're so immersed in a moment, or sometimes it's not even a scary movie, it's just whatever, and then the phone rings. Or the doorbell rings, and you're caught off guard by it. We're drawing Samara, who is the girl from The Ring. Again, I feel like in this case there's not really much I can say due to me having no real experience with the movie. Aside from, the obvious parody movies. I think Scary Movie 3 was the movie that parodied this one. I don't remember. I think that's correct. And I guess I got a lot of the tropes from that movie. I understood the story a little bit more due to that. But like some of the imagery from that film is very iconic. How different the American version is from the Japanese version, I honestly couldn't tell you. As for the piece itself, I was having a lot of trouble. And I think so far this may be one of my least favorite drawings I've done, if only because it looks so little like what I meant to draw. Like in and of itself, I don't think the drawing is inherently bad, but it doesn't look like the character I'm trying to draw. She looks far more masculine in my drawing than she does in the reference photo. And that's not to say that she looks quite feminine or like really pretty in the photo, but the feminine features she does have, you can see them immediately, whereas here, she has a more rough, manly face. I think it may be due to her nose, the shape of her eyebrows, something. And I give her some big-ass lips, too. Like, I haven't done it yet, but you'll see. She just looks like a grunge, singer than, like, a movie monster. Which, the concept behind The Ring was always kind of creepy to me. Like I said, I don't think it was ever inherently scary, or like I would have nightmares with it or anything. But just thinking about the idea behind what this character was and what the situation was, like, it's just a bunch of nonsensical things in this tape that you just find or is given to you one day, and then, your time is up, basically, is what the film is telling us. And my only experience with it, I remember, and this might be an embarrassing story for her, I don't know. It's probably one of the only times I've trolled anyone so successfully, and it really made me feel bad. Because I prank my sister a lot. Not successfully, or sometimes like they're not even really pranks. But I remember when we were younger, my parents had like a really small phone. Like you couldn't make calls with it or anything. It was just like it was a cell phone that like you could access, and it was like a really, really old like Sprint phone. So like it had the very basic like stock ringtones. Like it was one of those things where you couldn't even connect to the internet. I don't think anyway. And they gave it to my sister because, for no apparent reason. It's not like she could make calls anyway, so it was fine to give it to her. I don't know how old we were, but I knew the whole "you're gonna die in 7 days" trope. I had known about that already. So one of the things you could do with that phone was like you could add an opening message to it. So like if you're turning the phone on, a message would display like, "Oh, welcome back, your name," you know. Um, and I took advantage of that because like I don't remember what my sister had on before. I think it was just like welcome back, my sister's name. And then what I did was, while she wasn't looking, I grabbed the phone, I changed the opening text to "you're gonna die in 7 days," and then I put the phone back. So like the next time she grabbed it, she thought it was weird that the phone was off, so she turned it on. And out of nowhere, like I didn't even see her do it. And I planted it there and like just waited for it to happen. Then like I think it was like the day after, she came to me almost crying, asking me like, "Did you change my phone's title screen?" And I felt really guilty, but at the same time I thought it was really funny that I couldn't lie to her. I was like, yeah, I did. I don't want you to like freak out about anything, because I know that if it was me that was in her position, I knew that I would have been completely freaked out. And like she started crying, but like she was immediately relieved about it too, because she was like, "Oh my god, I was so scared." I was like, again, we were young. It wasn't like we were teenagers or anything. No, we were pretty young, to the point where it was plausible that she would freak out about it. And I don't know. I thought it was funny, but then as soon as she started actually freaking out about it, it got immediately less funny. Again, I guess there's not really much I can say about doing this drawing or my experiences with the films, because I don't know what to say. We originally also wanted to do The Girl from The Grudge, which I believe is another Japanese inspired horror film. But honestly, something I told my sister was, well, Samara and The Girl from The Grudge are actually, in terms of a design, I think they're pretty similar. Actually, looking back, I think another problem with her face is that she's probably too wide. I think her head is too wide. That may be what gives her a more masculine appearance too. But that was the reason why we decided to not do The Girl from The Grudge, because to me it's like, okay, well, their designs are similar. Like, aside from the fact that they're both based on Japanese horror films, which who cares, right? Because that's not what mattered. To me, what mattered was that the designs are too similar and there's not really a point. And they're both movies that I've actually never seen. But I've heard about them and I know about their existence. I don't know. I never watched them. And I'm not really too interested in watching them. I may watch them down the line, but as for the time being, I'm not. If you can recommend it to me, I'd probably go watch it, but again, nothing that I immediately am looking forward to watching right away. I do have to say, as we're wrapping up this week of Movie Monsters, I think it's a great opportunity for me, because I think I said it before. I think it was a great opportunity for me to grow as an artist. Okay, I'm not doing anything here. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I guess I must have clicked off of something and I don't know. It's a great opportunity for me to grow as an artist because, as I've said before, I'm not too well versed when it comes to realism, and I think a lot of that has to do with my cartoonist background. Like, I grew up drawing cartoons, and I still do. I animate cartoons. Like, animating realism is incredibly difficult. That I don't think anybody does it, or very few people do. And I don't know. I've never had the need to draw in a more realistic fashion. But now, like, doing it as a personal challenge, I think is great. And a lot of these characters, I look back on them. Like, I remember when I drew the Freddy one, which was the first one. I thought it was incredible. I loved it. I was like, oh, wow. And I didn't even, that wasn't even really too hard for me. Jason, same deal. Like, oh, the shading is actually really nice, and it wasn't all too difficult for me. Reagan was where it started getting hard, but by the time I was drawing Reagan, I looked back at Freddy and I was like, wow, actually, I don't like it that much anymore. And to me, like, that's what happens with my art all the time. Like, and I think that if you're an artist, you need to understand you're progressively getting better, and it's something that's just going to happen. Like, you're going to start liking your previous art less, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't demerit what you did before anyway, because of course you're going to get better as an artist. And in my case, it was in the span of a few days. And I'm not saying like, oh, I got so much better. I just stopped liking it because, it's like, oh, well, I could have done better. I could have shaded it better. I could have done this better. But, it's just something that happens. Do I think the Freddy piece is bad? No. But I just don't like it as much compared to what I've been drawing now. Like, I've been doing better shading and stuff like this. This is the final result. Again, if you compare it to the actual image of the girl, you can tell there are a lot of differences. One of my lesser favorite ones, again, I don't think it's bad. I don't think the execution is terrible. It just doesn't look like my reference very much, and that I think is the problem. It's not something that's too recognizable. Like, if you saw this drawing, you wouldn't immediately think, oh, the girl from The Grudge. You just think like, oh, portrait of a guy but yeah, tomorrow we will be wrapping up Monster Movie Week. That doesn't mean, okay, I want to get this out of the way, I guess, right now. That doesn't mean that tomorrow is going to be the last movie monster. We are going to have more movie monsters. It's just that they're classified differently, and you'll see why. But tomorrow, who are we? Oh, we're drawing actually a really iconic one. Who, again, is movies I've never seen, but it was very fun to draw. Very easy to draw as well, but despite that, very, very iconic, and I think you'll recognize it right away, even though the title will be there, and it won't matter. But until next time, guys, stay safe and stay awesome. This is Char 5 signing off.
The TV